46 goals in all tonight as 47 nations take the long road to England 96. Amongst others, the major clashes we look at tonight: Germany against Wales, the Czech Republic take on Holland, France against Slovakia, and the very first game we look at tonight from Poland, where Israel went there with an excellent record. Our first game, Poland against Israel.
And so we kick off as we move ever closer to the major championships taking place in the home countries next summer, 14 months away, and all the nations in action this week looking to take another giant step towards participation in the 1996 European Championships. Not least the surprise package of Group 1, the Mavericks in this group are Israel in the light blue here, making the trip to the mining town of Zabrze in southern Poland, the home of Górnik, the famous old club in this mining community. Poland with some work to do in this group, and they are playing in the white shirts and the red shorts, and they were about to get off to the perfect start in a game they really had to win. The second minute of play, the first time that the Poles have been up the Israeli end of the pitch, and a strike with the left foot from the edge of the box from Peter Nowak, the 30-year-old who plays in the Bundesliga with 1860 Munich, getting the Poles away to a flyer. Well, Israel, as we said, were coming into this game undefeated and really beginning to believe that they could make the trip to England next June. But a severe setback coming in after just 90 seconds of play, as that shot is rifled home across the keeper and into the bottom corner. No chance for Bonnie Ginsberg, who tonight was winning his 60th cap in Poland. Well, the home nation really with their tails up. Tremendous shot against the crossbar from the veteran, the fullback, Kowalczyk, from the Betis club in Seville. Could so easily have made it a second there, linking up well with the forwards to engineer a left foot shot that crashes against Ginsberg's crossbar. And the Israelis really on the ropes in the early stages. However, they came back well, and they came back with some force just before half-time. They were to find not just an equaliser, but 2 goals in the space of 5 minutes that threatened to turn the game around. The equaliser then on 37 comes after a fumble at the back post and some poor marking from the home side. Yes, it's Ronnie Rosenthal on the score sheet once again. A wonderful looping cross from left fullback Glam, and Rosenthal, the Tottenham man, bundles the ball in with the goalkeeper failing to keep it out. A despairing lunge on the line and 1-1, and suddenly Israel scented blood. 3 minutes before the break, they carve an opening here. Nobody picks up the goal scorer, and a second going home from the boot of Revivo. 2 goals in 5 minutes, and Israel ahead. The Israelis, having won 2 and drawn 3 of their opening 5 matches, were second in the group at the start of the midweek action, while Poland found themselves languishing second from bottom. And as the sides headed towards the tunnel at half-time, it looked as if the Israelis were about to do it once again. Holding the might of France 0-0 in their last match on home territory, here they were, coming to the heartland of Poland, and with goals in the space of 5 minutes from Ronnie Rosenthal and Revivo, they'd cancelled out that opener from Poland's Nowak. So we move forward into the second half. The Israelis looking to build on that 2-1 lead. However, whatever was said in the dressing room at halftime really worked wonders with the Poles. It took them just 5 minutes to get the game back on level terms. Ginsberg unable to keep out the initial shot, and following up was Juskowiak to wrap it up and run in the rebound. Four goals already then for the 19,000 crowd to savour. And certainly after the setback before half-time, that was one that brought them back to life. It was a cool and a damp evening in Zabrze, but Poland were now back on level terms and suddenly looking as if they believed in their ability once again. This is a superb header for the third. The player of the match on the night was Kowalski. We saw him hit the bar in the first half, putting the header beyond Ginsberg in just about the only unguarded part of the goal. A wonderful header indeed from the Polish number 2, and well worth admiring once again. A flat-footed Ginsberg, just like the Polish home fans, left flat-footed. All he could do was stand and admire the pinpoint header that glanced in from the inside of an upright. And so this seesaw game in Group 1, which sees Romania heading the nations involved, now saw the Poles back in front once again. And just as the Israelis had managed before half-time, it's 2 in 5 minutes that put the Poles back in the driving seat, and it was to get better for them. A storming run forward from Tomasz Lapinski. Kowalski playing almost as an extra forward by this stage. Just unable to keep that chip down as Israeli defenders found it. Israel missing Ronan Haradzi up front. He's the leading goal scorer in this group for Israel. And Ronnie Rosenthal, the lone figure up front, a second shot against the crossbar. And this time it's Juskowiak, the Sporting Lisbon man, so desperately unlucky. As the woodwork once again, the saviour of Israel. Now Rosenthal beneath us, wanting too much time on the ball, and the red tide of Poland sweeping forward once again into the box. A bad foul from Halfon. And the Swedish referee Frisk quickly there with the yellow card. Another yard on the run from Kosminski there, and surely Poland would have had a penalty. But what a turnaround since half-time. Poland leading 3-2, and suddenly it was 4. The free kick sneaking home through a forest of legs, and nobody getting a touch on the shot from Kozetski on 62 minutes, and Poland have 3 goals inside of 12 second-half minutes, and those fans are about to celebrate a famous victory here in Zabrze. 4-2 now to the home nation. Israel in the last 20 minutes, still coming forward and conjuring up perhaps the best goal of the 6. It was to be the final goal of the game, but what a goal it was from the young substitute Itzik Zohar, coming on, and with 30 minutes to play, the most perfectly executed of volleys, which left a floundering Vanchik to pick the ball out of the net for Israel's second. And in fact 4-3 was to be the final score. But certainly the crowd getting value for money in this game, and with Romania having a simple away tie in Azerbaijan, one they were always expected to win, Poland knew that they had to really get maximum points from this game if they were to stay in this group with any chance of making the trip.
The French football side, desperate to exorcise the spectre of their traumatic last-minute defeat by Bulgaria in the World Cup, have deserted the Parc des Princes and the capital city of the country and come to the city of the certain champions of France, Nantes, hoping that they'll be infected by the high-scoring atmosphere generated over the season by the home side. And playing up front, the home hero, Patrice Loco, twinning with David Ginola, who had a marvellous run in the Champions League for Paris Saint-Germain. Just in behind them, number 10, Zidane. Zidane, the man they tried from Bordeaux in one of the games, the earlier games. He proved to be something of a failure, but that wasn't too surprising given the French scoring record. The Slovakia side, well, they drew 0-0 with France in the very first game, and they come here to fight very hard, at least for a draw, and led by Peter Dubovsky, the Real Madrid man, with Moravcik, known to the French from playing for Saint Etienne up front as well. Penska of Eintracht Frankfurt, the other man from abroad. And the French are very nervous, of course, about this game, given the fact that they've had the most arid run in French footballing history. Only 2 goals in 5 games. And these 2 goals were against Azerbaijan. Hardly the cause for fluttering the flag from the Arc de Triomphe. And they're under great pressure. And right away, Marcel Desailly, the man who had played brilliantly for Milan in that game against Paris Saint-Germain, laying on the second goal for... And they've been playing very solidly at the back. Every now and again, good-looking runs by Peter Dubovsky. Whipped away there by Glonek. And the French, at this stage, unable to get the ball. Looking forward to that combination of Ginola. And away running on the outside. Lovely little ball across there. Ginola, always the dangerous man. Beautifully pushed across there by Didier Deschamps. Now watch the speed of Loco. Ginola inside. Little interference from the back there. Certainly helped Slovakia. Zidane. Guerin. And Obriko, it's a no-go. Kristofic. Well, the coach, Monsieur Jacquet, must think that somebody up there likes him, because that was an absurdity. And I think Kristofic, the defender, simply took his eye off the ball, was worried about players coming inside him. Beautiful ball by Guerin. And as he stretched out there, so the goalkeeper, Molnar, absolutely no chance. Well, the French have been talking about their luck deserting them. Just get the impression it's in tonight, and there's Bernard Lama. He's going through one of these spells where he wants to turn out to be a Beckenbauer, and almost blew the jerseys in that first minute, as you'll recall, against Milan in the opening game against them. Well, there's a perfect one, Ginola. Playing for the 15th time for France, 4th goal. And a man who very controversially was attributed with a terrible lapse on the football field which gave Bulgaria that last-minute goal, has all the time since then tried to make amends. Here was a little morsel. Ginola at his very best. Well, Michel Platini, the ubiquitous figure in French football at the moment, planning the World Cup. Watching as Vincent Guerin, marvellous little midfield player, taking the corner kick. There it is. Up went Laurent Blanc. Scored 8 goals this season for Saint Etienne. And that's what he's renowned for. Scored a couple of goals with his head against Israel when they were playing in the World Cup qualifying group. And they can bring these big defenders forward. There's Bernard Lama. Oh, beautiful ball out there. When they do get the openings, it comes very well for them. Zidane, Ginola. Anybody inside? Decided to go for it himself. Coming up very quickly was Guerin on the other side. Away there by Kinder. Zidane. Deschamps. This is the best football the French have played since the start of the tournament. In it goes. Laurent Blanc. 57 minutes gone. And an indication of the kind of pressure that the big defender has been as frequently in his opponent's penalty area as his own. And the non-crowd loving this, loving the very fact that they're playing an international here rather than in the hated city, the rival city of Paris. Loud roars for Laurent Blanc. His club, Saint-Etienne, are struggling. He individually is not. One, two, three missed. He got it. Now Stupala has been advancing down this right wing a lot. But there's been no anxiety about this French team tonight. Playing with an assurance which I'm sure the coach has been down on his knees praying for, taken there by Dubovsky. He can't believe it. Just measured it well, got it to that left foot of his, and in the way, the goal scorer, Laurent Blanc. Nicely inside there by his substitute. Then Gloss away down the right, left-hand side, Dimeco. Picked up again by Deschamps. And invited by Guerin. Oh! Oh, I don't think he'll need to encourage acclamation. That was superb finishing. Just watch it. I just got the impression that could have landed at the back of the stand when it left his foot. But his foot had judged it much better than my eye. Well, if you want to take a shot on the volley, here's a lesson for you. All credit to Didier Deschamps, the Milan player. That beautifully floated, angled cross. Well, Vincent Guerin scored that remarkable goal against Barcelona in the quarter-final of the Champions Cup, but that simply exceeded it. And you get the impression that the French are now voracious. They're wanting more than just four. Back it goes, and that is flicked in, but I think offside. The ball was put through by Zidane. Djorkaeff coming up, but the referee spotting. Well, there's the shot in. Well, I don't think he was offside. Djorkaeff certainly wasn't. The player on the far side might just have been, but was he interfering with play? Well, Loco hasn't got his name in the score sheet tonight, but the very fact that he's on the pitch, he's fast, and he aggravates the defense. Got it by Baravchik. Well, there was a little flutter of anxiety there. Bernard Lama, 32 years of age, and up to some eccentricities recently, which I think must cause both his club and his country some anxiety. Beautiful Tron, Loco, unselfishly back, and that's an excellent save by Molnar. That could so easily have been 5. Djorkaeff coming up in it. A good save and just a little slice of luck to back it up. On that far side, Penska. They've easily been marked, and well, that could have been put away. That was slack play, and perhaps not too surprising given the French superiority in thinking the game is well nigh over. Hooked away eventually by Desailly. And it's simply been a matter of celebration after that fourth goal was scored. They've had some dreadful results, the French. Drawing nothing each with Slovakia in the very opening game. Nothing each against Romania at home. Nothing each in Poland. And in between, beating Azerbaijan by 2-0. Headed away there by Glonek. And the final whistle goes, that's it. The referee from Germany, Mr. Heinemann, bringing a game to an end, the victorious French. To Poland. Well, you saw the highlights of that game at the start. I think it resolves around France-Israel, perhaps, as the last game. France play Poland.
Welcome back to the Anderlecht Stadium in Brussels. Belgium, the home nation, in the all playing from left to right here against the opposition Cyprus. This is Group 2, and for both sides, things are looking bleak in a group which sees Spain as the runaway leaders. Well, the Belgians are in a rebuilding phase, and at the moment, reflecting their own national game, Belgian football is rather flat. They've struggled so far in Group 2, but the fans that turned out tonight in Brussels were expecting nothing more than the 3 points against lowly Cyprus. However, the Cypriots were coming off a good result in their last match. Just about a month ago, they held Denmark, the reigning European champions, of course. That was 1-1 on the island of Cyprus, and few expected them to repeat the result here this evening against the Belgians. Corner kick swung in. The Cypriots were always going to have problems from set-piece play, and that's the first goal after 20 minutes play. The man with the Greek name, curiously enough, is the goal scorer. Karagiannis for Belgium puts the home nation ahead after 20 minutes play. Mano Karagiannis, after the Cypriots had only half cleared the corner kick. Here it comes again. A weak punch from Paniutu, the keeper, and the man on the line just unable to stop the shot that may well have taken a deflection on the way through. Defenders getting in the goalkeeper's way, and perfectly balanced on the edge of the D. The shot comes in from Karagiannis, and the home side have a lead midway through the first half. Well, there's no Michel Prudhomme anymore in the Belgian goal. He's announced his international retirement, as has Frankie van der Elst. All Belgium in the first half once the early goal had lifted their spirits. Paniutu and his defenders were then fighting a rearguard battle to keep things respectable. Believe it or not, going into this encounter, Cyprus were actually ahead of Belgium in this group, which sees Spain ahead at the start of the week. Well ahead, in fact, with 13 points from their 5 matches. They're undefeated, and so far in their campaign, Spain have come here to Belgium and seen off the host nation in thrilling fashion by 4-1. That caused something of a rethink in Belgian football circles, but I'm afraid the Belgians looking a long shot for Euro 96. They are, of course, missing key players. Philippe Albert, they're missing his craft and promptings from midfield. And Paniutu, for one, in the Cyprus goal, was having a night to remember. On their rare forays forward, Kaloteu playing the ball out wide to the flank. Nobody had picked up Engulmitis to number 7, and in the end, the shot against the angle from Pitas, the attack-minded fullback here on this left-hand side. A swerving shot from the number 3 with the outside of the boot that was unlucky not to bring Cyprus an away goal. So that's the difference between the two sides as we move forward into the second half, and the Belgians knowing that the game needing another goal really to wrap it up. in front of 25,000 fans who are beginning to express their impatience when that second came on 47 from Günther Schepens, the Standard Liège man, surely making the game safe for his nation with a second for Belgium. Luc Nilis with the defence-splitting pass that releases the number 11, and Schepens guarding the ball underneath the brave goalkeeper for Cyprus. Paniutu beaten for a second time, and the Belgians by now were home and dry. So Belgium with this comfortable win in the end. They had to settle for just the 2-goal margin. That poor finishing letting them down in the final 20 minutes. Gilles de Bilde, knowing that he really should have got on the mark there. But a win that lifts Belgium above their opposition here this evening. But they're still in mid-table, and as nobody will catch Spain, it's a race between Macedonia, Denmark, and perhaps the long shot, the Belgians here, to see who'll claim the second spot for qualification from Group 2. The Cypriots tiring very much in the second period. Here's the goal scorer, planting the ball long into the box, a knockdown, and the number 10, once again the guilty party, de Bilde, closing in on the header from Mark de Grijze. And the Belgians may well live to regret missed chances from this game, should goal difference prove crucial in the final analysis. However, the plucky Cypriots, with such a small professional squad to draw from, came out of the game with much credit and earning the respect of the Belgian fans. Never gave up looking for a goal, and just as the crossbar had robbed them in the first half, so it was again to thwart them a goal in the second. If anything, an even better strike this time from Papavassilou, as he just dips the shoulder there and shimmies inside Dirk Medved, and desperately unlucky not to pull a goal back. Cyprus then getting nothing from this game in Group 2, and a goal in each half for Belgium, giving them the 3 points and only their second win in this group. Well, everybody is playing catch-up with the Spaniards, who had a fairly comfortable looking away trip to Armenia. Certainly that's how it turned out as well. But they had to wait for the second half before the goals came. The first 3 minutes after the break, Spain are in the all-white strip. Dreadful error here from the Armenian goalkeeper. And a simple open goal for Amavisca, the Real Madrid man, could hardly miss. Abrahamyan in the home goal didn't have a happy night of it. And his punch from that corner kick was dispatched with some aplomb from all of 25 yards by the Basque man. Goicoechea, the ex-Barcelona star, now at Bilbao, wraps it up for Spain. So comfortable for the pace setters in Group 2. Spain winning by 2 goals, now dropped to 5th in the table. Certainly not.
Hardly anybody outside Sweden, and indeed perhaps many people inside Sweden, predicted that the Swedes would get to 3rd place in the World Cup finals in the USA. But there are some people now beginning to wonder if that form and that style and that standard is now beginning to disintegrate. They've had some rather odd results, and mediocrity seems to be creeping into the play. The last one when Turkey beat them by 2-1. Against a nation, Hungary. One of the great sadnesses of European football is the demise of Hungarian football from the dizzy heights they had reached in the 50s and 60s. And that opening goal there by Gabor Helmai, the man from Belgian football, set the stadium ablaze and raised once again the possibility of an optimistic future. The problem was, of course, the goal came in only 2 minutes. There was a long, long way to go for the Hungarians yet to consolidate that. Beautifully picked up there, and the Swedes coming back into attack, but again very disappointing. Stefan Schwarz, who had scored with a free kick like that in the most blistering fashion for Arsenal, his club, not quite getting it there. And all that talent, including Schwarz, putting that in, and Kenneth Anderson getting his head to it. The big man who caused so much consternation in World Cup defences. He plays in French football at Caen. He has scored some excellent goals in the air, but deprived there by Zoltan Vek in goal. The Swedes were certainly stunned by that, but they are nothing if not a workmanlike and professional side, and that is what they now had tried to prove. Balls popping into the penalty area. Mild, Alexanderson, Zetterberg and Kenneth Anderson all having efforts near goal. The Hungarians, if not brilliant, were playing at least confidently and trying to go on the break. And the referee, having brought that play to a halt, as that buzz was made through, Kenneth Anderson again very strongly on the ball. Into the second half, the Hungarians growing in confidence. And the ball played back to Halmai. And in this very famous and spacious stadium, a fraction of the crowds that used to be attracted to Hungary's great games were nevertheless delighted with the way their side was playing. The ball off the head of Patrick Anderson there and into the side net from Nitschai. And yet again we had evidence in the Swedish side of their lack of ability in midfield. They've always been renowned for their professional coordination there, but lacking a little bit of flair. And right at the end, almost snatching an equaliser. As the rain lashed down, so it seemed to appear that the Swedes were again toiling. Their moves largely predictable. And throughout most of the second half, Hungary getting players behind the ball, and their excellent goalkeeper, despite the very slippery ball, Zoltan Vek, was tested time after time. And the attacks by Illes, Vinci, Saloy, and a man who scored the goal, Halmai, were always potentially there. Patrick Anderson at the back, the Borussia Mönchengladbach player, infected by carelessness, and a wonderful effort near the end, almost put away. That would have killed off Sweden once and for all. Great bust through there by Saloy, the man who plays in Israel for Beitar Jerusalem. And just touched away. The crowd whistling for full time, and up had come that eccentric goalkeeper, Thomas Ravelli, playing for the 124th time for his country, trying to equal Peter Shilton's world record. It was too late for him even to score from a corner, and Hungary had achieved their first win in the group. Perhaps we will yet see a renaissance of football, a rejuvenation of the turnstiles with more coming through to see a team that is determined to build again some glory for Hungarian football. Often a Lapo border, deservedly so. A touch of camaraderie there by a team that deserved the full points. Turkey, who've not reached the finals of a major tournament since their solitary appearance in the World Cup in 1954, taking on Switzerland. Switzerland top of the group, and a wonderful opening goal there by Suka Hakan. 17 minutes gone, hardly out of the blue, because he's well known as a scorer. He has penetration and an eye for goal, as you can witness yourselves. One up, still more to come. Pressing time after time, and this time the player going right through Hakan, missing an almost certain chance. And a deflected goal. Hotiger had sent that shot in from way out, 35-yarder. Touch back there. And there's the little deflection off the inside of the heel of Alpay into the back of the net. Hotiger getting the credit for that. Into the second half and going through Temizkanoglu Ogun. The 54th minute, and what turned out to be a triumph for the Turks again. And now one must assume Turkey are beginning to build. I doubt if any aficionado would.
In Group 4 we feature a couple of Europe's fledgling nations, beginning with Lithuania. This is Vilnius, and these fans have turned out to see the visit of the World Cup runners-up, Italy. Well, for the Italians, this game really beginning under a cloud. The sad death at the age of just 23 of Fortunato, the ex-Juventus star, who has died of complications following a virus and struggling with leukemia. He was buried in Salerno, and you'll see that's why the Italian national side are turning out in black armbands. Some of the players really could not get themselves mentally prepared for this one, not least Ravanelli, who trainer Sacchi chose to keep on the bench at the start of play. But the Italians had a very strong team out nevertheless, and the Azuris, of course, are playing in the blue jerseys and the white shorts against the Lithuanian side, who don't wish to be seen as a make-weight nation in this group, Group 4, which currently sees the two strongest nations at the top of the group standings. First real chance of goal comes in from the head of AC Milan's Maldini, a header that was only just wide of the Lithuanian goal. Stauce, the goalkeeper who plays for Galatasaray in Turkey, well, had less luck with that free kick that came through a crowd of players and went home after just 12 minutes play to give the Italians the lead through Gianfranco Zola. See it once again, the three-man wall. They perhaps might have had another body in there, and nobody really getting a touch on it, as Lombardo was the target man. It deceived everybody, including the Lithuanian keeper, and Italy were a goal to the good. At the start of play, it's Croatia who were the top team in Group 4, but the Italians, after a rocky start, were right behind them in second place with 10 points, 3 clear of their opponents here, Lithuania, who were pushed back for much of the opening half hour. Minotti, Costa Corta, Di Matteo, Pagliuca, and the Italians with great confidence, playing their way neatly out of trouble at the back and linking well as the final shot comes in from Casiraghi, but without the power and lacking direction to give Italy a second. Trainer Saki in charge of the national side for the 37th time this evening. And would you believe he's yet to play the same team twice? Pagliuca in goal for Italy, Benarivo, Maldini, Di Matteo, Costacurta. At the back, Menotti, Lombardo, Conte, Casiraghi. And up front, the goalscorer Zola and Grippa. Lombardo's cross, easily dealt with by Noras, the Lithuanian number 5. Once again, shot on the turn from Casiraghi. Well, these two will meet in the final match come November in this group, by which time the Italians and that man there will certainly hope to have it all wrapped up. And surely they will do, with other nations in this group, Estonia, Ukraine, Slovenia, looking to be perhaps Group 4, the weakest of all the groups, partaking in the qualification process for Euro 96. Good-natured but subdued Lithuanian crowd here. We're hoping that the home side could pull off perhaps a shock and find that goal back in the second half. But as you see, once again, it's the Italians doing much of the pressing. Casiraghi had a busy night and laying the ball back for Menotti to fire just wide of the angle. Baggio came on as the second half substitute, looking to lift the Italian game. "15,000 fans in this modest stadium in Vilnius. Never gave up hope that the home side could pull off a shock. Perhaps a draw for them would have been seen as a moral victory. But the Italians, playing economically, always within themselves, perhaps the longer the game wore on, content to sit back on the one first half goal from Gianfranco Zola, and without exerting themselves too much, they were on their way to the 3 points here in Group 4. Italy's record prior to this one, won 3, drawn 1 and lost 1. Well, that deflected shot from Zola may have been going wide, but good goalkeeping nevertheless from the Galatasaray man. Initial shot from Maldini, misdirected, but quick thinking from the Parma man, the number 10, Gianfranco Zola. But his 12th minute goal, direct from the free kick, was to prove conclusive, and in the final analysis, the only goal of the night. I'm sure that one or two of these Lithuanian players will be making a reputation for themselves, already attracting attention from Scandinavian clubs. The number 8, Ivanauskas, plays for HSV, Hamburg SV in the Bundesliga, although he too is finding the step up to the big league in Germany a little tough going at the moment. Hasn't indeed scored for the first team in some 6 months. But some of these players, certainly within the next 3 to 5 years, will find their way into the major European leagues, certainly Scandinavia initially, and then who knows, perhaps into the big time. But as a nation, the Lithuanians in the yellow shirts and green shorts still have some way to go. And this a night in Vilnius where the World Cup finalists simply had too much in the locker and far too much experience, as Saki perhaps wisely rings the changes, looking for what he hopes will once again be a winning blend by the time this side gets to England in June of 1996, as surely they will. The Lithuanians almost catching the Italians out there. It's a miskick by Maldini, which provides Slekish with the best chance of the second half for Lithuania to get one back, and he will rue that missed chance for a long time to come. But full credit to Pagliuca, stood up well to beat away the shot from inside the box. Zola laying the ball into the path of The Italian captain Maldini, the AC Milan player, who will be contesting this year's European Cup final, almost laying on a second, as Zola had taken up a good position when the cross arrived. Still to come in this group, we have action from the other key game in the Balkans, a real local derby when Croatia took on Slovenia. And as you see at times, desperate defending from the home nation to keep the marauding Italians at bay, and there the substitute Prexaitis doing his best to concede an own goal. Coach Zelkevicius, knowing as we come towards the end of the game that Lithuania, looking for all the big-time experience they can muster against the premier nations of world football, will certainly have taken much away from this game. They were to come away from the encounter pointless, but a 1-0 defeat at the hands of the World Cup finalists for them was certainly no disgrace. Another chance, just whistling wide of the far post, as Conte looked to bend the ball in beyond Stalcer. And right to the final whistle, the Italians never gave up in the quest for a second goal to increase their goal tally. Strong run from Benarrivo, only lacking the final finish. So Lithuania, who had managed 2 victories from their 4 matches prior to this game, an away victory in the Ukraine last September as their campaign got underway, and then perhaps with greater credit to them, a 2-1 win in Slovenia last November. But this was to be their second defeat, and they could have few arguments with the final result. Just 1 goal was enough for the Italian. Well, in world football terms, there's something stirring down in the Balkans, and that could well be Croatia. Here in the red and white shirts against Slovenia, they survived an early scare there as the Slovenians broke early in the game, and the goalkeeper Ladic was shown a red card there for felling Zidane. On came the substitute goalkeeper, the Croatians down to 10 men. It mattered not. On 17 minutes, that's a goal of real quality from Robert Prosinecki, now playing his football out on loan in Spain at Real Oviedo. And the man disadvantage, no hurdle too big for the Croatians to overcome. Just 3.5 years into their existence as an independent footballing nation, and a wonderful free kick from all of 30 yards bent over the wall for Croatia to take a very handy lead indeed. Well, Croatia really have exploded onto the world scene in this group. They lead it after 5 matches with 13 points, undefeated, 4 wins and just a draw, and they have scored 10 very exciting goals and conceded just the 1. Well, it's 11 after Prosinecki's early strike in this game. The Slovenians are in mid-table, or they were before this match. But when you're defending against a side that boasts up front, Alan Boksic of Lazio, the leading scorer for 2 seasons at Olympique Marseille before his transfer to Serie A. Boban, of course, whose goals have been instrumental in taking AC Milan into the European Cup final. The goal scorer Prosinecki we've already seen, and they're adding a second in the final minute, perhaps the most exciting player currently in the Croatian side and indeed in European football, from Seville in Spain. Suker wrapping it up. The 10 men of Croatia brushing Slovenia aside. Prosinecki's 17th minute opener, and then a wonderful strike once again from the man who just cannot stop scoring for his new country. Suker's goal in the final minute, giving Croatia their 5th win in this group by 2-0. So watch out for Croatia then next summer in England. Yet another victory for them on the path to qualification for Euro 96, and still heading this group comfortably from Italy, now looking very much as if Group 4 is going to be a two-horse race. Down at the bottom, Ukraine got a win in Estonia by 1-0. And a win indeed that lifts them away from the bottom of the table, now moving up ahead of Slovenia.
The Dutch trouble everywhere with their team, and here they were in the city of Prague to face the Czech Republic, one of the newer footballing nations, but of course that is a mere semantic expression, because here in the city of Prague has been given birth many players of great quality, and the Czech side today with teams coming here, and every indication that the Czechs can be very difficult to beat indeed. There's no Dennis Bergkamp for the Dutch. He's gone down with the flu. In comes Peter van Vossen and Mark Overmars, one of the 6 Ajax players. It is very much an Ajax-dominated Netherlands side. And the player you saw there, Skurabi, with that little ponytail, and if the Dutch needed any warnings about the capabilities of this side, it came in the very first game they played in this qualifying group, which ended up 1-1. And there was no Nemecek and no Skurabi. They weren't allowed to play by the clubs Toulouse and Genoa respectively. They're playing tonight, and they will be, one of them dangerous, very dangerous in attack, and the other solid in defense. Onto that far side, Thomas Repka. I don't think the Dutch supporters, although they're making tremendous din in the background here, are all that confident. There's the ball pushed forward by Berger, going in on goal. Beautifully set away there by Nemec. Patrick Berger is a local boy, plays for Slavia Prague, and indeed Nemec, Nemecek, Skurabi, they all had experience of that club. You may remember them from a European Cup run. Well, the Dutch looking very nervy at the early stages of this game. Winter tried to get that away down the side, picked up by Ronald de Boer, playing magnificently for Ajax in the Champions League. Well, I think he was expecting something from the referee out of that. Well, I think the Dutch bench very rueful about what has happened so far. The Czechs looking very frisky indeed. Nemec, excellent. That is Nemec on the ball now. One of the players, one of the 4 players from the Bundesliga, plays for Schalke. Now they try to put that through to Skurabi. Berger just gliding that through that space. Frank de Boer building it up from the back to Clarence Seedorf. Seedorf just gives the impression he's moving on ball bearings. He just floats around very smoothly indeed. There he is again, Seedorf. Wim Jonk. Oh, it's in! Well, that's a typical strike by Wim Jonk. Well, I'm sure the Dutch will recognize what he's done in the past. He can do it again in the future. And in that great young run that Ajax had to win the UEFA Cup a couple of seasons ago, he scored a couple of goals like that. Eye over the ball and no chance. There was just a suggestion of a touch there by Kadlec. And the Dutch against the run of the play, 1 up. Beautiful ball through by Kuka, Berger again. While De Gouy didn't need to go for it. I think he realized as soon as it left the book of Patrick Berger, it was hitting the side net. But oh dear, bad marking by the Dutch defence, which looks astonishingly flat. Seedorf. Well, that's where the Dutch are not winning. And it goes back to Frydek. Wow, they're giving away incredible chances in front of goal now. Very good goalkeeping there by De Gouy, getting his legs out and I think putting the Czech player off. Good forward there by Stan Valch. He's been having a hard time of it in the centre of defence. That was Winter. Seedorf. Beautifully subtle move there. And in goes Jonk. Now that was much more like the Dutch. Some delicate one-touch football in midfield. Now we've seen nothing of the speed of this man. Away he goes now. Overmars, that will be a booking. Pavel Happel, the Leverkusen player, will certainly get his name in the book for that. I doubt if there's a quicker player in European football than this man, Mark Overmars. Booking taken, and Wim Jonk just behind him there, Frank de Boer. He might just leave it to de Boer, in fact. Lays it to the side, neat little shimmy there. And Ronald de Boer getting the final shot. Seedorf. Jonk. Well, after that opening blistering 20-minute spell, which was really torrid for the Dutch, and then getting that goal by Wim Jonk, they have settled. Well, they are putting the passes together. That was about 10 passes from the back. They certainly lost possession, but I think that's an indication of more confidence. Kadlec, or Kadlec, I think I should call him. Overmars, need a play, Aaron Winter. Picked up here by Van Vossen, straight in for Bergkamp, of course. Well, I did say they were knocking the ball about intelligently, the Dutch, again demonstrating this here. Well, the crowd might be whistling. I think it's annoying that the side cannot get the ball. Well, the coach, Varane, right out there. I think the crowd now beginning to get a little bit restless. Scurabi! Oh, he's brought down. Well, not according to the referee. Just watch that again. Oh, I would think about 7 out of 10 referees would give a penalty for that. Valch. Jonk. That's the better ball. De Boer in with it. Oh. Well, Peter Kuba, who's not the first choice goalkeeper, making heavy weather of that, and the Dutch in what I think was a stupid act of provocation by Arthur Newman from Eindhoven. And off go the Czech players in reprisal. I just get the impression the Czech players must get a goal soon or they'll become decidedly dispirited. They've had nothing to show so far for their excellent play in the first half. That's Scurabi. Why, he gets up very well. As I said, Scurabi missed the last game. Thus, the Dutch didn't have to face this wonderful spring he has. They're beavering away. On terms of possession, aggression, they really deserve a goal at this stage. And it goes wide, Berger putting it in, it is Scurabi! Well, that was inevitable. He set it up himself. Watch the square ball and look at him taking off, just looking back over his shoulder. That's excellent play, and finishes the move. Well, I think it's a goal the Dutch themselves would have been proud of, technically sound as they are. Scorabi's goal right out of the top drawer, or Dennis Bergkamp's drawer, the sort of goal that he would be very proud of indeed. And now they're on the attack again. Played there to Kuka. I think Frank de Boer gets it this time. Pavel Kuka, the Kaiserslautern player, upended. Another yellow card. This time Frank de Boer. As I said, dominated by the Ajax players. That's not terribly surprising, given the superb form that Ajax are in at the moment. And all of these players I've been mentioning from Ajax, including the players from the bench, Patrick Kluivert getting prepared to play Milan. It's now one each. Touched there by De Gouy, little hesitantly. What a great game of football this has been. Like old times in Prague. Last time we watched a really great team playing here. Oh, it's gone in! Václav Nemeček. He got the final touch. 57 minutes gone, and thoroughly deservedly they've gone 2-1 up. The little back glance there, and it went straight in. Scorabi does a little dance of joy there. But the scorer, Václav Nemeček. The Dutch can't complain. They've been playing against a side with great spirit. And technically, certainly in midfield, just as good as the Dutch. And with dangerous finishes, I think they're going to turn out to be strong contenders in the last section of this group. Young trying to get away with it. I think the crowd roaring with relief about that. Well, they might be thinking of substitutions. Certainly Peter Bosz came on just after a minute of the second half. I think another free kick. This time it was Jiri Nemec, the Schalke player, who went down. And remember, I think what buttresses the possible chances of a side like the Czech Republic are players playing outside the Czech league. They've got players from Italy, France and Germany on the side, and that cosmopolitan touch, that experience, is giving the side a new kind of steel and determination. It's in! Oh, De Gouy! Was he blinded? Patrick Berger. Well, the camera always goes to Thomas Scorabi when the score goes in, but that was undoubtedly Berger. The wall broke, and the goalkeeper, or I should say maybe using a Dutch expression, the dike broke, and certainly De Gouy couldn't put his finger in to stem the flood. Solemn faces on the Dutch bench. Played there by Radoslav Latel. Proved himself to be a very useful substitute since coming on. That will be a free kick. This result is no fluke. This team have played very intelligent football, and their coach must be very proud of them. While 3-1 is bad enough at this stage, Certainly the Dutch want to prevent a humiliation. Great save that time from Skurabi. Well, you might possibly think that De Gouy was at fault for the free kick, but I think he saved the jerseys there. Oh yes, from that angle, great save. De Boer. Almost a gesture of a pass that time out of defense. Better header towards goal, but without any great sting in it. Obermar, Danny Blind, Jonk. Might have been aiming for a shot there. Kleiber just taking that away. And the Dutch, I think, realizing the Czechs are simply getting everybody behind the ball, congesting that penalty area. I think that sums up the Dutch evening. Really disappointing performance by Holland. Although they won their last game handsomely by 4-0, it was against weaker opposition, against Malta. Now touched inside there by Siegel. Oh! Wow, the substitute, I think, takes the credit for that long run down the right. Here's the final touch in the penalty area. Tried to curl it round the goalkeeper. Anxious moments for everybody in this game. I think the Dutch might be accepting defeat now. A heartening result for the Czech Republic. Again, one of the Eastern nations, the former communist nations, wishing to resuscitate their football, which had got into a rather mordant state. And one of the ways of doing that is getting results like the one they have now just achieved. The final whistle goes. A handsome, perhaps even an historic victory for the new footballing nation, the Czech Republic. They've already won a couple of games, but that's the most significant of all. The former European champions humbled in Prague. Oh yes, they are enjoying this. Let's not begrudge them it. It was well deserved, a thoroughly professional footballing performance. Luxembourg, like San Marino, are simply cannon fodder, of course, in this competition, and people beginning to wonder whether such nations should be allowed to continue in the competition. Well, Jakobsen scoring that first goal in the 11th minute was not waiting around for that debate. He simply sunk in Norway's first goal of 5. Ball neatly floated in by Fjordtoft, and away it was put. A simple goal in what was to turn out to be the ceremonial slaughter of Luxembourg. Norway, who achieved some new status by getting to the World Cup finals, though they turned out to be a very boring side there, nevertheless, right in command, and the ball creeping over the line from Jan Agev Fjordtoft, scoring the second goal. It took a long time to cross over, but the Norwegians certainly imagining they could add considerably to the tally. A very hesitant defense, and the fullback fighter ball watching, and that's what you get for doing that. Not long before the third one came up, the ball played out of defense, everybody coming forward, no flag, and Bradback put it away. Thank you very much. One of the gift goals of the week. At this stage, even the neutrals were beginning to wonder if a pocket calculator would help in the final reckoning. There was a little push. Out had come that defense, and at least 4 players were there. The final touch by the defender. Into the second half, more to follow. 1 minute into the second 45 minutes, and Henningberg making it 4-0. Norway at the top of the group realized they must add to their tally. They had scored many fewer goals at this stage than the Dutch, and this is exactly what they had in mind, a high-scoring match. They were after scoring the Dutch level of 14 goals, and now at this stage only 1 away from it. Only a feeble response from Luxembourg. The last goal scored by Rekdal. 52 minutes gone, 5-0. And indeed that had taken their goal tally in the section to 14 goals with 1 against. At the other end, Grodas, a very contented goalkeeper, watching this slaughter carry on. The final touch from the foot of Kjetil Rekdal. Very positive result there by Norway, but that's the shock of the week. The Czech Republic deservedly winning by 3 goals difference between the two. Norway in.
Welcome back to Group 6 this time. Well, with England as host nation qualifying automatically for Euro 96, perhaps Group 6 is the one that really captures our imagination. This is Austria on a real goal feast against poor little Liechtenstein. The last time we saw the Austrians in action a month ago, they were hammering Latvia by 5-0. Well, they were to go 2 better in this game against the minnows of Group 6. The first coming after just 8 minutes from Kubauer, and there was to be no let-up 3 minutes later. The man from Cologne playing his 68th game for his country. Yes, the familiar figure of big Tony Polster, the number 9. One of the most accomplished target men in European football. Makes it 2 for the home nation. Well, the Austrians flooding forward almost at will, and once again getting in behind the Liechtenstein defence to get a third, and all this coming in the first 17 minutes of play. Kubauer opened the floodgates on 8, Tony Polster on 11, and this one scrambled home on 17 by Sabitzer. Wonderful setting for this game, which drew a 5,500 crowd. That's all turned out to see Liechtenstein put to the sword here in Salzburg. Into the second half, Tony Polster now laying on the pass, which saw a penalty to the Austrians. Sabitzer, the man brought down, and Tony Polster is the penalty kick expert for both club and country. That's his second of the game, and Austria's 4th. Well, going into the action, it was Portugal leading this group by 2 points from the Republic of Ireland, and then Northern Ireland win 3rd place, but Austria looking to put the heat on both Northern Ireland and the Republic should they slip up, and also making sure they were going to put plenty of goals in the bank. If goal difference were to tell at the end of all the matches in Group 6, in Austria did themselves a huge favour. They brought on 2 substitutes for the final 10 minutes, and between them the subs added another 3 goals. Perks on 85, was followed up with number 6 for Austria a minute later from the second substitute, the number 14 there, Hütter. That made it 6-0. And for the poor Liechtenstein keeper, the misery still had another twist in the tail. In the dying moments, the same player is on the end of this cross from the right. It's partially cleared, but a shot hammered conclusively into the top corner. And Uri beaten for a 7th time, and a second there from Hütter, the Austria-Salzburg substitute, as Austria really rubbed Liechtenstein's noses in it. 7-0, the final score in Salzburg. So Northern Ireland had to win in Latvia to make sure they weren't to be overhauled by that sensational Austrian performance. 12 goals for them in their last 2 qualification matches. However, Northern Ireland, remember, had that very encouraging result at Lansdowne Road last time out, a 1-1 draw, and it was the head of Ian Dowie that gave them a precious point on that occasion, and here it was with the first real chance of this match. Northern Ireland, of course, are playing in the green shirts, and Latvia in the white shirts with the red shorts had their chances too. Starting the match second from bottom in this group, Northern Ireland in 3rd place, as we said, with 7 points from their opening 5 games. They were to win this one thanks to a 68th minute penalty by Ian Dowie. He won it and put it away too to give Northern Ireland the win. And so in Group 6, midweek action saw Ireland ending Portugal's 100% record at Lansdowne Road, an own goal right on half like this, with the Republic going to the top of the standings, ending Portugal's unbeaten record.
Wales come to the banks of the Rhine with as difficult a footballing task as crossing that same river in a fast-leaking rubber dinghy. They are in the Rhine Stadion to play Germany, who have the luxury of a 100% record in Group 7, as opposed to Wales, who won only 1 out of 5 games and conceded 14 goals, 2 more than Moldova even. While if the Welsh were clutching at some pre-game straws, they might feel the absence of key experienced players in the German side might render them slightly vulnerable. No Andy Muller, no Thomas Helmer, no Matthias Sammer, and no Jürgen Kohler in defence. So it's comparatively speaking, I hasten to add, it's a rather inexperienced German side. Here's Saunders. Oh, he's put it away. Well, Mark Hughes goes in celebration, but the honours go to Dean Saunders. Well, what a slap in the face for the Germans, that is. Oh, there's Vinnie Jones catching, surprise, surprise, the mood of the moment. Well, now, after that big build-up for the Germans and all the expectations, and Jürgen Klinsmann clapping his hands there in exasperation, the Welsh are 1-up. Well, the Germans are normally a very disciplined side, not complaining at all about what looked initially like a dubious offside position. The rather stoic features of Bertie Vogts. He does know he has his critics around the land. What a marvellous player this is, number 3, Ralph Weber. Great left foot on him. Putting it to Stefan Reuter, sweeping up at the back for the Germans, although he didn't make a very good job of it in the 7th minute. This is Christian Ziege, none of the young players. Flicked in the air by Ehrlich. All 6 feet, one of them, with that wonderful dash through the middle. Well, I can't imagine why his face isn't creased in agony at the moment, Bertie Vogts. Watch the miss. Nice control here. Oh, I think he did very well indeed, you know. I'm not quite sure that Herrlich and Klinsmann link together all that well. They're the same kind of player. Certainly very greedy for goals. I just get the impression they're getting in each other's way occasionally. Oh, Klinsmann goes away, he's onside. This is the kind he likes. Wonderful stop there by Neville Southall. I think that might be overrun. What a great save on the night he plays his 80th international. Watch Southall, very relaxed looking, isn't he? That's camouflage. He was really tense, ready to spring, and it worked. Back away there, Yields. Oh, Klinsmann. His exasperation mounts. Well, there's been a lot of brave defending in that Welsh defence. Watch Klinsmann coming into the far post. Just knocked away there by Chris Coleman. Coleman's had a very good season for Crystal Palace. They might be struggling, but have a decent defensive record. And Southall, as I said, calling on all his experience now. It's not just a matter of a goalkeeper making great saves, although that is important. It's exuding an air of calm and confidence that I think communicates itself to defenders. It's worked so far. Touch forward there by Basler. On to Ziege. Ooh, a little touch again. Off Herlich and then Klinsmann. Credit again to Neville Southall. Watch the final stretch he gets there, just that little touch. And I think the presence of Mark Bowen put Herlich off as well. And by the way, I did say they put each other off. That's Herlich and Klinsmann. Watch this confusion between the two German strikers. It comes now. Now Herlich really should have left that to Klinsmann in a better position. But they both challenge at the same time. You can hear the Welsh bench screaming out instructions. Ayers, great header by Klinsmann again. And he has a temper to match. Well, is that little outburst justified? There's a wonderful leap. That ball just waiting for him. Ooh, a little touch again, I think. Certainly on the rebound. The Germans have played all the attacking football and nothing to show for it. Weber with that great left foot of his again. Oh, there's Herlich! Well, he deserves it for the number of opportunities he's had in front of goal. And a little explosion from the lungs of Billy Vokes there, I think, of relief. His first goal in 2 internationals. The 23-year-old Borussia Mönchengladbach player, but all credit goes to the player from Frankfurt, Ralf Weber, with that glorious 30-yard pass. 1-0. There you are. Beautiful balance there as he swept that forward. Dropping right on to Herlich. Good concentration. Deserving of that goal. While the Welsh have been living dangerously, defending far too often right across the 18-yard line. And the Germans beginning to build up midfield superiority at the start of the second half. Thomas Hessler. Wow, this little man scored a goal against Wales in their qualifying World Cup qualifying match. The last time they played in a World Cup game, he scored a goal that took Germany to the World Cup finals in Italy. Ian Rush missed the chance, 3 minutes to go. That would have prevented Germany going. Weber to Ziege. Right off the head of Bowen. Well, they remain cool, Vinnie Jones. Well, Mark Hughes appealing to the referee. He's going to get nothing from him, though. The Germans hungering for the winner. Just tempting the Welsh to come forward a little bit more. That's picked up by Reuter, sent it out to Ziege. That's a useful cross, and again taken away by Herrlich. Well, many times have we seen Neville Southall in this game get that extreme touch to the ball. He couldn't stretch out anymore. Indication by Stefan Freund, he's wanting the long one. Everybody in it, fighting for Wales now. Dean Saunders leaving it. Picked up by Mark Hughes. Now this is dangerous. Kuntz going forward, and I think it's yes, another corner kick. Mehmet Scholl has come on as a substitute, the Bayern Munich player. A very direct player. Likes to run straight at defences. There he is, a little touchback by Southall. How are they holding out? Well, by sheer pluck, I think. Raid after raid into this goalmouth, and you give the Welsh 100 marks. Tremendous for courage. That last save by Dave Phillips. I doubt very much of these substitutions have altered the flow and the pattern of the game all that much. It's just getting this final breakthrough. They've been pressurizing from the start of the second half. And there's little doubt that even though they've had the pressure, they're going to receive no plaudits for this second half performance in particular. Lacking little touches of subtlety. This will turn out to be a remarkable result for the Welsh, and coming, sadly, I think, a little too late in the qualifying group. It's a kind of result they really ought to have had at home, instead of losing to the Germans as they did. Well, Neville Southall knows Klinsmann very well, having played against them recently in the FA Cup semi-final. And Southall coming off best there, with Everton going to the final itself. Well, all the Welsh required to do now is keep the ball away from them as the final whistle goes, and Stefan Kuntz driving that ball away in frustration. Thomas Hessler, sporting gesture there, a handshake for a very gallant Wales side. Okay, they're not in the same league, or at least most of the players are not in the same league as the Germans, like Klinsmann there, but they more than adequately compensated by the traditional fiery fighting spirit of the Welsh, a deserved draw. Coming far too late for the Welsh. That section that they now find themselves in, doing some damage. But I don't think I'd be alarming anybody by suggesting that you could put your mortgage on.
And finally this evening we're on the road with the Tartan Army. There they are, all 700 of them, doing their country proud as they swell the crowd, in fact making up 50% of the fans inside the stadium here in San Marino. We're in the Principality as we bring you action here from Group 8. Well, little San Marino, remember the shock they gave England in their final World Cup qualifier. with that goal after just 11 seconds play. Was there to be something similar here against the Scots playing in all white? No, there wasn't, as that one drifted wide of Jim Leighton's upright. Now Scotland on the attack, swinging the ball in, and there seemed to be some shirt tugging there on John McGinley. And the final shot is over the crossbar. Jim Leighton in goal for Scotland this evening. His international career resurrected. You'll remember last time out, if you were with us a month ago, the Scots coming back with a worthy point from their trip to Russia. And really nothing less than a win would be good enough for them here in San Marino. Well, John Collins put them on the road to success, with defenders backing off and the San Marino defenders looking for an offside flag that never came. Collins deciding to go it alone from fully 50 yards, a tremendous solo run by the Scotland man to put his side ahead after 19 minutes play, and the trip down here to the Principality proving to be well worthwhile for the travelling fans. Here it is, with men in front of him coming back from an offside position. Collins going all the way, takes the ball round Benedettini, who actually saw a yellow card after the goal went in. There's an attempt to thwart Collins' run, and very nearly another one here. Benedettini, the veteran San Marino keeper, in all sorts of trouble once again, the 35-year-old bus driver. And here's McGinley now free in the box, looking to tee it up for colleagues, as Scotland so nearly grab a second. And this time the referee decides that a few words of admonition to the San Marino defenders are necessary to pull them into line. Great save from Leighton, however, as Matza got on the end of that free kick for the home nation. Just 1,500 fans here in the municipal park, really. It's almost unkind to call it a stadium, but it's the Scots fans who were making most of the noise in the first half. Jim Leighton at 36, still showing plenty of agility. So Scotland still ahead thanks to the 19th minute strike from the Celtic man. Jinking run and a good cross too from Pat Nevin. And good to see him back on the international scene, committing defenders and getting in the telling cross there, which draws applause from colleagues Shearer and McGinley, who had the final header agonisingly the wrong side of Benedettini's upright. Second half then, Scotland leading by a goal to nil. Couldn't afford to relax, however, going in pursuit of a second that would make the game safe. Cross from Tommy Boyd. Had such a great game in Moscow, you'll remember, and that should have been the second. Leeds man Gary McAllister playing a captain's role, seeing Benedettini pull off a string of fine saves in the second half to keep the Scots at bay. Well, by this time, superior fitness and technique was beginning to tell. Boyd once again storming forward, and a shot that glances to safety from the outside of the post. This Group 8 is an intriguing one. Greece and Finland went into the week in positions 1 and 2, but the Greeks had a tough fixture against the Russians, and Scotland were looking to make up ground on both Greece and Finland at the top, but the Russians too, with games in hand, are not to be ruled out of this one. It could be any 2 from 4, really. Scotland needed that second goal. They had to wait until the 85th minute, winning his second cap. It's the Anglo from Tottenham Hotspur, Colin Calderwood. The big man comes up from the back, gets his head on the end of that cross, and the Scots have it wrapped up now at 2 goals to nil. Well, that's a shot there of John McGinley we're seeing, but the goal scorer was Colin Calderwood. And there he is, getting across his marker, and a bullet header that defeats the brave Benedettini, and it finishes here, San Marino 0, Scotland 2. So could Greece hang on to top spot? The Greeks at home here against the Russian side. The Greeks thought they might have had a penalty early on, and certainly seemed a fair shout there, and then a second shot against the crossbar as the Russians were lucky to survive the early stages here. And this was quite a torrid encounter, which included a red card. And that's the first goal for the Russian side. And it came on 36 minutes after the Greeks had had a man sent off. Yuri Nikiforov from Spartak Moscow, the goal scorer. The crowd making plenty of noise here in Salonika. Greeks looking to get on level terms then in the second half. Dmitry Karin, however, stood between the Greeks and an equaliser. And in fact, they really gifted the Russians the game and a second goal there. An own goal from defender Zagorakis on 78 minutes as the Greeks chased the game deep into the second half. Really spelled the death knell for them. This was to be the Greeks' first defeat in qualification, which thus far had seen them post a 100% record prior to this game. But the Russians really turning it on, upsetting the form book, and here they are on their way to a resounding 3-0 away success. Just a minute after that own goal had demoralised the Greeks, the Russians sew it up with a third from their best player, Beschatnik, and it finishes Greece 0, Russia 3. All the results from Group 8, the one you haven't seen. Finland doing themselves a power of good, nothing less than they would have expected. All 4 goals coming in the second half as they swept past the Faroe Isles. They're down at the bottom of the group, still without a point, as are San Marino. But shaking it up at the top, it now looks like this. Greece still hang on to top spot, but they're joined by Finland now. Both those nations on 12 points.